Overall, the budget strategy aims at achieving the following three broad strategic interventions, which will guide the planning and budgeting process for the next financial year. And these are as below. To mitigate the COVID-19 impact on business activity and livelihood, support to the recovery of the economy back to normality by increasing access to capital, revamping health infrastructure, health systems, and reducing vulnerabilities and ensuring access to education. We are all aware of what has happened since last year. Our economy has been impacted by COVID-19. So this is one of the strategies for this next financial year's budget. The second one is to speed up recovery of the economy to sustain economic growth for socio-economic transformation through reprioritizing and delivering impactful investments and structural resources budget to access with value for money. Then the last is to sustain microeconomic stability, peace, and security as key foundations for growth and development by keeping exchange rate stability, inflation control, maintaining an adequate reserve for forex, and mitigating emerging internal and external security alerts. Next. The NDP3 strategic priorities for next financial year, that is 2022-2023, are summarized below and are advised to plan in line with. In fact, we are advised to plan in line with these programs. Like His Worship the Mayor did say it, and my town clerk, our budget has been shifted from the sector-based to the program-based. For those of us who are here last financial year, for previous financial years, we are aware that we have been presenting and we've been budgeting on sector-based. The department comes here and budgets. But this time around, going on, we shall be having a program-based budgeting. And these are the programs the government has come up with. There are 20 in number. Initially, there were 18, but 2 have been added on. They are as follows. We have agro-industrialization, we have mineral development, we have sustainable development of petroleum resources, we have tourism, we have natural resource environment, climate change, water and land management, we have private sector development, we have manufacturing, integrated transport and the infrastructure services, we have sustainable energy development, digital transformation, sustainable urbanization and housing, human capital development, innovation, technology development and transfer, community mobilization and mindset change, governance and security, public sector transformation, regional development, we have development plan implementation, administrative of justice, legislative. Like I said initially, let's go back. Initially we had 18 of them, and the last 2 have been added. These are known for us, local government. They are judicial bases. So out of these 20 programs, local governments were asked to adopt. And as Arua City, we have adopted 15 of these 20. So it will be based on these 15 that our budget will be aligned. That's we shall do our planning. Next. Detail of this will be in the coming presentations, of which our facilitators will take us through. The policy and administrative guidelines for preparation of the budget, which is next financial year 2022-2023. Implementation of the parish development model. Government is implementing the parish development model, PDM, as a mechanism aimed at alleviating poverty by improving household incomes and welfare through employment and wealth creation, especially targeting the 39% of households still outside the money economy. This model adopts the parish at the center for sector community development overseen by the PDC, the Parish Development Committee. Are you aware, for those of us, also the divisions who have been carrying out trainings on this? This program came in. We had trainings in the division level. The PDCs have been formed. These are Parish Development Committees, of which are a membership of 13. But recently they have now added it one membership, of which they are saying each NRM chairperson at the village level will be part of the PDCs. to manage this program. This parish development model is built on 7 pillars, and these pillars are production, processing, and marketing, infrastructure, economic services, financial inclusion, social services, mindset change, community mobilization, and cross-cutting issues, community information system, as well as governance and administration. Detail of this will be presented in the next presentation. About the local government executive planning figures, it's true. Like I said, our budget has been aligned to NDP3, and it is accordingly basing on this that our APFs have been revised from the sector-based to the program approach. So, like I said, all our budgets will be a program-based budgeting. Next. Deepening physical decentralization, government has come up with this, and of which the Uganda Intergovernmental Fiscal Transfer, for result, that is UGIFT. Government of Uganda, with support from the World Bank and other development partners, is financing the intergovernmental fiscal transfers, that is UGIFT. And accordingly, for us as Arua City, we only have one school which is benefiting from that program. That is St. Peter Seed Secondary School in Aliba. And accordingly, we are in this budget process, we are to embark on preparation, identifying, planning, and budgeting for new facilities to be financed in next financial year. So it is in this room that we can come up with suggestions, because right now, as I said, we only have one school. So we can come up and identify that another school to add up on this school. But when we are identifying a school, we have to base on this. One, for the school which is under this project, that is Aliba, the school in Aliba. Next, the school in Aliba. The following has to be taken into consideration. We are required to plan and budget for operation of the UGIFT completed facilities. These are recruitment and access of staffs in payroll, operation, maintenance costs, as well as utilities and other operation costs. So in this budget where we are preparing, we shall be having those operation costs for the school we have under this UGIFT, which is still one school. As well as we shall have to ensure that our plans reflect monitoring and evaluation of environmental and social compliance, including environmental and social impact assessment screening, and the preparation of environmental and social management plans. Next. Now that we might be wanting to maybe propose another school to benefit under this has to be taken into consideration. Budgeting for titling of land. The UGIFT project, like any other development agency, requires that all the facilities should be constructed on government-owned land. If you are to propose another school, we have to make sure that the land of that said school should be a government land. Local government are hereby, so we are hereby requested to plan and budget for the said school which is being recommended maybe from here today on a government land we titled. So that is one of the procurations if you are to identify a school here. Next. On the new operation of the new administrative units, I think this we're all aware about that. Effective 2020-2021, that is in last financial year, government operationalized 10 of the newly created cities of which Arua, Gulu, Lira, Soroti, Mbale, Jinja, Masaka, Fort Poto, Hoima, and Barara. The creation of these cities led to changes in boundaries and shifting of some administrative units in districts where the cities were created, and this led to changes in the IPFs. Like I said, with the creation of Arua City, of course, we had the 7 sub-counties which were annexed from the former district, Arua, to Arua City. Now, as I said, as I talk right now, we have in total 7 plus the 2, 9 now. So the budget of Arua district has reduced accordingly, as well as the one of Arua City has increased accordingly. That is according to the first IPF. Much as we are still, the IPF is not yet enough. In the next financial year, the next financial year which we are discussing today, the last 5 new cities will be operationalized, and this will include Moroto, Nakasongola, Entebbe, Kabale, and Wakiso. They will be financed through the same modality, of the current batch. They will be financed, therefore, the districts whose sub-counties have been annexed to these cities will have their IPFs adjusted downwards by the equivalent allocation to those sub-counties that will be moving to the cities. The district of Arua can bear with us, that their budget really has reduced. And this is the statement we justify that. So, and accordingly, the affected districts are therefore advised to plan as per the IPFs where we have. Next. So about the newly created units, these are now the town council, the sub-counties, which are mentioned. I'm aware we saw some of these on the new visions, on the newspapers, social media, Facebook. Some new administrative units were created. But they're saying here that operation of these new sub-counties and town councils have been halted. Districts with these newly created town councils and sub-counties should not plan or allocate resources which are with a view of operation them until resources are available or else. So we are not supposed to budget them. And in any case, you saw some of these in social medias or what. For next financial year, we're not having any administrative units to be added in this budget. So all of them have been halted. And accordingly, our PPS, the system we use to plan this, to have this budget after this consultative, the budget has been locked, that we cannot now include a new administrative units. Next. Then the budget preparation and implementation challenges in this current financial year, and the recommendation for next financial year, that is 2022, 2023, and the medium term. Planning, we are to plan within the context of COVID-19. Like I said, the budgets for the second half of 2020-2021 and the first half of 2021-2022 were greatly affected by the first and second waves of COVID-19 respectively. By first half of 2020-2021, here I mean the first phase of COVID. That found us in second quarter. I mean in third quarter. That was in March. The first lockdown affected us, as well as the second phase of this current financial year. The first phase found us in the first quarter, in the last financial year, and then the second phase in this financial year. Therefore, the implementation of various government planned interventions within the said period stalled because resources were distributed largely to health and other key institutions for emergency financing and containment of COVID-19 interventions and other mitigation measures. I think we all saw this, that most of our budgets were channeled to health sector to fight the COVID-19. Next. Enforcement of accountability with the measurable results. These are some of the key highlights, key policies, of which we as the government are required to monitor, to plan and budget for monthly and quarterly monitoring and supervision of all these projects, so that all the projects we shall be implementing are monitored and are supervised by our supervisors, as well as other youth stakeholders. In a bid to improve quality, efficiency, and reduce inflation of costs in construction of public infrastructure in health and education sectors, His Excellency the President of Uganda issued a directive to have all constructions on contracts in these sectors awarded to Army Construction Brigade beginning this financial year. In fact, beginning this financial year. So in this case, I think some of us have been seeing this as well in social media, that the contracts will be given to the Army Brigade. It is true, and it's now a policy. It's one of the key policies that to fight the corruption as well. So all our constructions of health and education will be directed through the Army Brigade construction. Next. Now, the construction cost-cutting issues. Usually, when we do planning and budgeting, we're emphasized to include this. And the COVID-19 has not been among the cost-cutting issues, but because of what is happening now, COVID-19 has been added. to be always in our budgeting. So COVID-19 mainstreaming, we're advised to properly to budget these SOPs. So in our budget, we shall have all these SOPs so that also strengthen the fight of this COVID-19. Gender and equity budgeting, we shall also make sure that our budgets are gender-based. And maybe for your information, the last budget we had with you here, we did got also as well views from you, and it was from that budget conference we had last financial, though it was still the first budget conference for the city. We had to go by what you gave us, and we had to perform the third in the country among all the local governments after Soroti, after Serere and Moroto, as a compliance for gender-based budgeting. So in that case, we shall also as well maintain the same. Then HIV AIDS mainstreaming, we also advised in the budget we should have this, and they say that 0.1% of our total budget, excluding pension, gratuity, and other transfers, we shall have it as a plan or a figure to fight the HIV, because it said that sorry for that technical issue. Yeah, we are supposed to mainstream that as a cross-cutting issue. And then lastly, as a cross-cutting issue, we shall be having environment, climate change and sanitization issues. The last cross-cutting issue. Yeah, this. So in our budget, we are advised and we have to implement this. We have to make sure that our budget is compliant to environment, climate change, and sanitation issues. So these are the 4 cross-cutting issues we have to make sure that they are in the budget. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you so much, the representative from Planning Unit, for being very elaborate. Fellow participants, I hope you are taking note of all the issues and the presentations. The next presenter.
Thank you, the session chair. Before the next presenter steps in, we have more of our dignitaries who have joined us. With us, we have Aseki Charles, the former mayor, Arua Municipal Council. Can wave to the people. We have the DPC prisons. Can wave to the participants. We have the senior state, Anthony. I saw seated down. Yes, she's there with us. We have the chairperson, PWD, Arua City. We also have representative of BLUD, Mr. Matata, you are down there. These are one of our service providers. We also have our honorable councillors of Arua City who joined us later on. You can wave to the participants. They are there. And also our honorable councillors from our city divisions of Aivu and Arua Central. If you are around, you can wave to the participants. We have also the presence of the Deputy Mayor, Arua Central Division, Honorable Datibi Jackson. Can wave to the people. We also have the Deputy Speaker, Arua Central Division. I saw him seated there. Yes. Thank you, Session Chair. Our next presentation.
Next is presentation by the City Principal Education Officer. You are most welcome.
Your Worship, the Mayor, yes. The City Town Clerk, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, good morning once again. My name is Obia Ombere Raymond, the Principal Education Officer. Bind us together, Lord, bind us together with a cord that cannot be broken. If you know this song, you sing with me. Bind us together, bind with a cord that cannot be. Bind us, bind. Thank you very much. Matters of human capital development require all of us to be bound together, because human capital development is the fulcrum upon which the transformation of any community is hinged on. Session chair last year when I was presenting here, I did say that if we were to transform Arua City, we must make sure that we raise an alarm. Amama Nduru. And that Nduru of Salongo, of where we are reawakening everybody to make sure that we champion the issues of human capital. And once those issues of human capital are put at the forefront of each and every household, the issues His Worship the Mayor was talking about here, like people grazing in the city, will be history. And before I may not follow this so much, I was thinking within myself, Your Worship, you clearly said this is now a transitional budget. And I really want to think that as Arua City, we should uniquely prioritize human capital development, so that together with the program of mindset change, we are able to shift the way people think and make them think that, yes, we are now a city. And in human capital development, we are talking of majorly two sectors: education and health. Education and health. And you will all know how much these two sectors have been affected by COVID-19. As I present here, I want to inform you that as Arua City, our positivity rate is still at 8.2, which is a little bit high. And when you are seated here, ladies and gentlemen, let us observe the standard operating procedures. Please bear the inconvenience this mask is going to cause for you, because the positivity rate of 8 against the national positivity rate, which is now at 2, means that we are danger zone. So we need to bear this inconvenience. I'm sorry my colleague has not yet arrived, but the education sector department has been asked nationally to coordinate the human capital development program, and that's why I'm presenting on behalf of these two sectors. So that was my opening statement, and I pray that I'm really going to be very brief, and I will give more issues time for you to give your input. As I had said, the human capital development is contributing to objective number 4 of the National Development Plan 3, which is about enhancing the productivity and social well-being of the population. And then the other objectives which it contributes to includes objective number 1, which is enhancing value addition in key growth opportunities. I was pleased to hear somebody who is saying he's looking for industrial park. And people who are going to look for industrial park, are people who must be knowledgeable on what they want to do. And we can only get that knowledge through education. And then the other one is the objective number 2, which is to strengthen private sector capacity to drive growth and create jobs. There was a young man here whose expectation was where the youth issues are well articulated in the National Development Plan 3. And this Human Capital Development Program heavily tries to make sure that the youth issues are looked into seriously, because majority of the youth are in the school sector. And this time the focus is this youth must come out from our education institutions when they have the requisite skills, the requisite attitudes, the requisite values to embrace the world of work. Next. Can you move on, Musa? Next. Then, the objective, as I said, these are basically for health and education, but we also contribute under water, and then we also contribute under gender, all aimed at increasing productivity, inclusiveness, and well-being of the population for wealth creation. Next. At the local government level, the program goal is to increase productivity of the population through strategic investments in the people to enable them work productively and competitively. Bani azingazwa balance. As you are doing your work at your home there, you compete with yourself. And I'm talking about this positive competition, not this one of Nungu. But this is a positive one where you look at something somebody is doing and you think, if I also added my energy and worked like the way he or she is doing, I can reach there. And this is what we are looking at, in line with Vision 2040. By the way, Vision 2040 is saying, by that time, we should transform from a peasantry to a modern, developed country. And I always ask this question, is it our country to transform, or it is individuals to transform? It is what we do as individuals in this country that is going to transform what? This country. And the development Uganda is looking for, is yearning for, is first and foremost your personal development. Because your personal development is then going to add to the national development. And then specifically, the strategic results of this human capital development include increased youth employment. 2, increased employer satisfaction with the people who come from our training institutions, like Arua School of Nursing. That yes, the nurses that come from our training institutions are really well qualified. And people will be willing to employ them wherever they are. And next, increase per person of training institution meeting basic requirements and minimum standard indicators. Ladies and gentlemen, COVID has hit us very hard. The quality of the infrastructure of our institutions is now wanting. But we would like to see that all our institutions meet the basic requirements and minimum standard indicators. Increase the life expectancy, reduce neonatal, infant, under 5 and maternal mortality rates, reduce fertility rates, increase primary and secondary survival transitional rates. I was just adding the figures we have here. Whereas we, for example, in PLE, we normally chunk out as a municipality, we're chunking out about 2,000. But when you go to the second subsector, you find the ones who are completing senior 4 don't even make it. I was adding the figures for the 9 USE secondary schools in Arua City. The number that those secondary schools are turning out, those who are under USE, does not reach 300. Where are they? And that's a big societal challenge. And we must make sure that we work to make sure that these children from primary are able to transition to secondary and even transition to training institutions so that we get a value for money. Auditor is always reminding us about that. Increase the quality, adjusted years of schooling. Quite often our children take a lot of years in schooling. Then increasing literacy rates, increase proportion of population participating in physical, in sports and physical exercises. Your worship, we need seriously as a city to come up with a strategy to make sure that we work on making the citizens of Arua City to embrace physical exercise. We had started making some days within a week where people will be running around. But maybe you need to launch this officially so that maybe your council, together with your council, we declare either a day in the month. I was in Rwanda, and when that day comes, whether you are running or walking, everybody walks. Because that is also one strategy which we are going to use to fight the non-communicable diseases. And I think we need to become innovative in some of those small areas and make sure that everybody takes advantage of those kind of innovations to push us to the next level. So that when other people are visiting Arua, they are also saying, you know, in Arua, the first Saturday of the month, every citizen is in a physical exercise. They are sweating a bit. And that sweating, many of you will agree with me, is healthy. Sometimes to relieve some headache, to relieve some stress, then that will contribute towards the well-being of the citizens of this city. Our issues, the situations on the ground are very challenging. First of all, we have limited access to ECD, early childhood education. And then where we have access, there are challenges with the cost of ECD, which the majority of our people cannot afford. Inadequate health care centers, which are not fully equipped. Then we have inadequate teachers in our schools, teachers' housing. Proceed. Your worship, you mentioned as a challenge. And this is how some of our garbage, some our city is choking with garbage. That's what you call dump site, which is idea supposed to be a compost site. But that is how nice it looks, but it's not doing the work it's supposed to be doing. Move on. This is our positivity trend, COVID. You can see as of October 23rd, we were at 8.5. And that means some serious work needs to be done to make sure that we lower it down. Move on. Vaccination. This is where we have reached with the teachers, with the health workers. Your worship, you can see the coverage for elderly, others is still very low. And although we are vaccine utilization, we are at 74%. Ladies and gentlemen, if you are here and you have not taken the jab, please, kindly, can we call the sister in charge to bring the vaccines here, and then you take the opportunity straight away. This vaccination is for the future of our children. Because, come again? seconded. Are you there? So that we call people to come. If you have not taken the job, you put up your hand. Then good. You are one. From here we shall go with you via the health center. So that you help to improve, to really change situation for our children. The country has tagged reopening of schools to a certain number of people getting vaccinated. And you are there, you are just not bothered, and you are interested that our children are getting pregnant, they are getting destroyed. Who is the enemy of the children of Uganda? Those of us who are here, let's go out and make sure that we raise this alarm so that we increase on the number of people who get vaccinated, so that we build a mass of human what? Immunity against COVID-19. I know we are going to do it. These are some of our challenges. Move on. There are very many. The development issues we are going to be focusing on is we still have limited infrastructure for staff accommodation in health centers and education institutions. There is a mortuary we are building at Adumi Health Center 4 and we would like to complete. We want to bring the issue of a health center 4 in Naivu East as a development agenda. Then garbage and waste management is a serious issue. Limited infrastructure for service delivery. Here we are bringing, those health centers have issues. And then the classrooms in our education institutions. Move on. We have inadequate staffing in our health centers and in our education institutions. The gaps are very huge, and we pray that very soon we will start working on them. Dilapidated infrastructure, and then of course the COVID-19 and its result and impact on all the sectors. Move on. This is some of the quality of infrastructure in some of our education institutions. You can see how they are. Move on. Our strategic interventions will include the following. We are going to continue making sure that our schools receive capitation grants timely. But we are also going to focus on rehabilitation and construction of primary schools. And we are targeting 7. And then we want to construct 35 stances of lined pit latrines and waterborne toilets. You will realize that our teachers have been out of the education cycle for a while, and we are going to focus on continuous professional development for teachers. And then we want to intensify on e-learning through various means and community-led learning. Your worship, the ministry has accepted that we should continue ahead with community-led learning. In this city, we are being supported by Cecil, and Cecil is organizing children in homes in the number of less than 15 to continue learning, those small ones. But sometimes we also get reports, some people come around and then they go and arrest those volunteers. Those people who are helping those learners are called volunteers. They go and bring them to police, demoralizing them. But we want to intensify on that. We will continue to register candidates accurately and timely for these exams. Move on. We have a dormitory in Arua School of Nursing. Hopefully, we are going to complete it this financial year. If we doesn't, we have tagged it on. There's a dormitory for particularly girls because the situation there is very bad. And then inspection, and then we want to specifically focus on empowering Arua Technical Institute to undertake technical works. Given their privileged position and the quality of infrastructure there, if your council could also be deliberate on this, that certain works at a certain threshold can be directed to Arua Technical Institute, we will then build their capacity and make sure that it becomes an innovative hub. Next. Under health, our focus is going to be on prevention and control of communicable diseases. We'll focus on high burden diseases like HIV, malaria, neglected tropical diseases, and epidemic-prone diseases through community-based surveillance approaches, the VHTs. Then prevention and control of non-communicable diseases and injuries through promotion of physical exercise again. And then improve reproductive and maternal, neonatal, child, and adolescent health services. That's where the strategic interventions increase, but I really, for purposes of time, Madam Chair, I beg to stop here and thank members for listening to me. And I pray that you are going to give issues of human capital serious attention, first at household level, then that will translate into the organizational level to make sure that we transform Arua City into what we all want this city to be. May God bless you.
Thank you so much, the Principal Education Officer, for being very elaborate enough for the participants to take note of the issues you have raised. The next person. The next presenter.
Thank you, Session Chair. Before we come to the public sector, I want to give 5 minutes to that senior economic planner, Arua City, to have a presentation on the budget alignment to National Development 3. 5 minutes. Then thereafter, we'll have the public sector presenter to come in. Session Chair, we have been joined with the presence of the following people. We have the Deputy RCC, Arua City.
You are most welcome, Deputy RCC.
We have the Deputy CISO.
Yes, Deputy Sister, you are most welcome.
We are also blessed with the presence of our 2 city division mayors. We have the city division mayor, Arua Central.
Thank you so much.
And the counterpart, city division mayor, Aivo.
Thank you.
The budget alignment
Budget alignment
to
by
National Development 3. 5 minutes, please.
by planner, please.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair.
Move on.
My task is very simple, to make a presentation on the budget alignment. The outline is, you start with the background. First. Then we look at them.
Let the participants have
They already have
the document
handouts.
first.
Yes,
Yeah?
they already have the handouts. So we are looking at the background to development plan, the implications of program approach to planning and budgeting.
Can you
Then
give me one?
We shall also look at a small illustration on program logic, and then the proposed
Kindly give me one.
program leadership and the coordination. The last one is conclusion. Next. In 2017, government of Uganda adopted the program-based budgeting. system, that is PBS. However, this was not aligned to the previous National Development Plan 2 and the Integrated Financial Management System. So the NDP3 now adopted a program-based approach to planning and budgeting. Next. This approach takes into account performance-based budgeting and addresses implementation challenges resulting from 1, uncoordinated planning and budgeting, 2, weak work harmonization of plans and budgets between sectors, 3 is the limited sequencing of programs, and also weak linkage between outcomes and outputs. Why program-based approach? Program-based approach focuses on this delivering of common results. 2, provides the logical framework for program budgeting system, enhance synergy across actors, and provide a coordinated framework for implementation, monitoring, and reporting. As my earlier presenter alluded, Arua City adopted 15 programs, which you will read, running from agro-industrialization up to regional development. Next. Next. Yes, this is the program logic framework. You start with the program, bring out the development issue to be addressed, the program goal, program outcomes. These are the program outcome indicators and targets, program objectives, interventions, outputs. This is an example. Assuming your program is human capital development, and the development issue here is to be addressed is poor health and safety of the population. So your goal there is to increase productivity of population for increased competitiveness and a better quality of life for all. And your program outcomes now runs from reducing prevalence of under 5 standing from 28.9 to 24, reducing under 5 mortality rate from 64 to 52 out of 1,000, then reducing the mortality rate from 361 to 299. And then your program objective was to improve population health, safety, and management. The interventions are, one is to improve the functionality, that is staffing and equipment of health facilities at all levels, expand geographical access to healthcare services, to divisions and supposed to be wards, because we don't have sub-counties in cities. Then improve occupational health and safety to address and to reduce accidents and injuries, strengthen the emergency and the referral systems. So the outputs are, say 5 health center tools constructed and furnished, 90% of the established staff positions filled, then 200 personal protective gears procured. And the program leadership, Madam Chair, we have both political and technical. The political leadership is headed by His Worship the Mayor, and then the relevant executive secretaries will coordinate cluster of programs on behalf of the political leadership. The technical leadership is going to be headed by the city clerk, and will be the coordinator of all programs supported by program cluster heads. The planning unity provides the secretariat services in terms of technical support and the consolidation of annual program performance reports based on the results framework. The city clerk will forward the performance report to the program, to the executive committee and council. So this is the cluster. We have the first cluster is integrated transport, infrastructure and services, sustainable urbanization and housing, digital transformation. These are going to be handled politically by Secretary Works and Technical Services. And then the technical cluster head is the city engineer. We have sustainable, we have human capital development. This one is going to be politically headed by, coordinated by the Secretary of Social Services. And this one takes into account health and education issues. And the cluster leader is the education officer. Next is natural resources, natural resources, environment, climate change, land and water management. This is going to be politically headed by the Secretary for Natural Resources, and the Natural Resources Officer is the technical cluster leader. Then we have governance and security development plan, implementation, regional development, technically headed by the Deputy City Clerk, and politically is going to be coordinated by Secretary of Finance, Planning and Administration. Next. In conclusion, Madam Chair, preparation of annual work plans and budgets will deliver program outcomes and outputs in the city development plan. We are not going to get our outputs and outcomes from elsewhere. We are supposed to adopt the outcomes and outputs from our development plan. That is the city development plan. 2, budget framework paper is supposed to be prepared and submitted to Ministry of Finance, Planning and Economic Development by 12 November 2021. And thereafter, National Planning Authority is supposed to issue certificate of compliance upon submission by 15th March 2022. Madam Chair, thanks for listening.
Thank you so much for being very brief. We have a number of presentations, yes. Thank you so much. I think that's the end of my share. Members, I want to leave this task to you, that fellow participants take note of key policy highlights, budget strategy, policy and administration, administrative guidelines, deepening physical decentralization, cross-cutting issues, environment, climate change and sanitation. Human capital development. Take note of situational analysis, development issues, the program goal, strategic results. And education, strategic interventions to address the development issues, strategic interventions to address the to address the development issues in health, in education, both in education and health. Yeah, under human capital, that is done, and budget alignment to NDP 3. Thank you so much for being attentive to the presentations. That comes to the end of my chairing. Thank you.
Thank you, the session chair. Right Honorable Madam Speaker, Arua City. Just as he has clearly made it, that let's take note of issues that we can be able to present at the time of discussions. Our next presentation is on public sector transformation, governance and security, development plan implementation and regional balanced development. And this will be facilitated by the Deputy City Clerk, Arua City, and the Deputy Mayor, Arua City, will step in as the session chair for Honorable Member of Parliament, Aiv West, who is unable to be with us during this consultative budget workshop. Please, the Deputy Mayor, Arua City, take your seat and chair the next session. You will also chair the discussion for the 2 sessions as well. And thereafter, the hotel management will take us through for a health break. The Deputy City Clerk, please come and take the podium.
The session chair, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, I will be making a presentation on 3 program areas, beginning with public sector transformation. We'll look at development plan implementation. We shall look at security and governance. As far as regional development is concerned, in the NDP3, the intermediate outcome indicators are reflected under production sector. So I have agreed with the person who will be presenting agro-industrialization to as well take on the regional development aspect. We can proceed. I will be very brief because I want to give you more time to enrich my presentation with suggestions. From public sector transformation, we have 5 major program objectives. One is to streamline government architecture for efficient and effective service delivery. We are all striving for improved service delivery. I think our mission states that we need to improve livelihood of the population through provision of holistic, quality, and accessible socio-economic services. So service delivery is at the focus of public service transformation. Our second program objective is to strengthen human resource management function of government for improved service delivery. Again, we are linking human resources to service delivery, just like my other previous presenters, particularly the one on human capital development presented. The third program objective is to strengthen accountability for results across government. The media is awash with the news of corruption, lack of accountability. So it is a part of the objectives of public sector transformation. The fourth objective is to deepen decentralization and citizen participation in local development. We are a local government and we are operating a decentralized government system. So the engagement of the citizens is very key. Lastly, we have the objective of increasing accountability and transparency in service delivery. Now, let's go objective by objective. What are the key issues that need to be achieved? We will start with the objective number 1, which I already read. We are striving for quality services. We are striving for quality services that we can achieve through strengthening, support, supervision, monitoring, and evaluation. We have 2 administrative units. We need to reach down to them. We have institutions like health and education, which we need to monitor closely to see that they offer quality services. We also think providing adequate, secure, and clean office space for all staff will help us achieve that. Currently, we are grappling with the insufficient office space. Some people are squatting. You find a small office being shared by 2-3 staff. In that way, they will not concentrate and perform. We are supposed to constitute by law a city integrity committee that will look into the issues of quality services, accountability, and others. Your worship, you will have the task of ensuring that this coming financial year, we should have the integrity committee in place. We are going to develop and enforce city service delivery standards. This is already work in progress. We have already gotten feedback from some departments. However, a few departments are left. We're in touch with the Ministry of Public Service in ensuring that this document is put in place so that it is the document the public is going to use to gauge whether we are doing the right thing, whether we're offering quality services. Easy accessibility to service delivery, and then developing a common public data information sharing. Information is very key. Sometimes a gap in information can cause a lot of misconception. So we want to bridge this gap. And objective number 2, we are dealing, can we proceed, Musa? And objective number 2, we are dealing with human resources. And ladies and gentlemen, you'll agree that the human resource quality of an organization reflects the health of the organization. If people dress poorly in an organization, that is the image of the organization. If the organization is staffed by drunkards, that is the image of the organization. So we are dealing with the human resource for a better reflection of the public sector. In this vein, we should design and implement a city human resource capacity development strategy for improved service delivery to the citizens. Learning is continuous. Much as we're in transition, there are opportunities that the government will give for people to upgrade. As we stabilize the city, we are focusing on acquiring, developing, motivating, and retaining key human resource capital. It is not good for us to have the staff come for 2-3 years and then they disappear. If the turnover, human resource turnover is very high, then there's something wrong with the organization. So our focus is going to be on how do we maintain, how do we retain what is existing, the existing human capital? How do we motivate them? We're also going to roll out the human resource management system in terms of the payroll management, productivity management, work leave, e-inspection. In bid to promote e-governance, we have already taken steps towards this. We already have the biometric machine, which we are going to install very soon at the city headquarters to monitor people's arrival for work. There is no business of signing in the evening for tomorrow. The machine will capture your thumbprint as at the time you have arrived. At a certain time, it is going to reject, and then will count you absent. So steps are being taken in that direction. But also, in a bid to improve human resource, we think the trainings, the capacity building development programs of the institution must be aligned to the strategy of the city, whether these are corporate, whether it is business or functional in nature. There should be no question of a staff, for example, who is a teacher. You are going to do a business course and you want administration to grant you leave. What value are you coming to add? It's better you pursue something that is in line with their profession. So that is how we are going to make the alignment. Proceed. We will improve staff motivation and commitment. This current financial year, we have planned a small budget. Sometimes at the end of the year, we need to sit together and pat ourselves at the back, thank ourselves for the job well done. Even if we take a bottle of water, it brings us together, it keeps us energized for the tasks ahead. We're also going to strengthen rewards and sanctions committee. This committee is in place, and we think now that we have an increased coverage, we will roll out the divisions because the headquarters will not be handling everything. Once we have fully fledged staffing structure, the division, some of these issues should be handled at that level. By the time you come to the headquarters, we presume that you cannot be accommodated within the rewards and sanctions structure of the division. And objective number 3, it is giving and receiving. It's about disseminating information. Information given out must elicit a feedback to make it complete. In this regard, we are looking at disseminating information to the public in an effective, efficient, and timely manner. When releases come, we should be able to publicize and submit the relevant offices. We also think improving access to information by the citizens will be good, because a lot of our taxpayers, a lot of our citizens do not actually adequately have knowledge about our programs, our projects, and our activities in the city. We will strive to ensure that this is bridged. While we are going digital, we also think maintaining the physical records and the files is still key, because we can't phase out the manual system as we go digital. And objective 4, we are going to provide technical backstopping to the lower governments through mentoring, through coaching, assignments, and delegation. This is already ongoing, though we have not reached other institutions like the health centers and schools, which are quite a distance from the city center. Strengthening support, supervision, monitoring, and evaluation of programs. Our 5th objective hinges on strengthening accountability. We think increasing participation of non-state actors in planning and budgeting, monitoring, and evaluation is very key, because in that way, we'll be moving together from the word go up to the end. That has been something which has been relatively weak, as presented by the senior economic planner. We'll focus on strengthening systems for the prevention, detection, and elimination of corruption. We have already started also taking steps towards this. I think if you go to our offices, you'll find on the doors of some offices, 0 tolerance to corruption. So don't attempt to bribe the officers in these offices. If you do, you're an accomplice. The current situation under public service transformation is characterized by the following. We have inadequate financial resources, that goes without say. Late release and accessibility of funds. Many times when releases are made on the paper, people think this money is already there in the bank. No, it is a process. A release can come at the beginning of the quarter. Say for second quarter, it was the release notice came in September. But the actual funds hit our accounts in October. And yet we are concluding second quarter in November. So you can see it affects the planned activities. This is a big challenge. We have inadequate office space for both elected and appointed leaders. I want to thank Your Worship the Mayor and the executive members for bearing with us. I am aware that the executive secretary is actually occupying one single room. But that is in the interest of service delivery. We think with the time this will be addressed. We have staffing gaps. In the meantime, we can't proceed to make recruitments simply because Our City Service Commission is not functional, but with time, when it becomes functional, I think this will be addressed. We have budget cuts. This has hit us very hard, both the appointed and the elected leaders. That's why we are struggling with the issues of ex gratia. We are struggling with issues of honoraria. We make projections, but what comes less. So, but we shall continue to struggle. Delays in the establishment of legal framework for operationalizing the city structure that I have already mentioned. In our introduction, we're introducing ourselves acting so and so, because we are not substantially established in those offices until this structure is approved. Our strategic interventions for public service transformation will basically focus on productive workforce. One, we need to strengthen partnership with the private sector. This city of Arua can never grow alone on its own with resources from the government. I am glad from July this year, a number of partners are now coming to our offices and are bringing us some support. And I think that should be the way to go. It is only through partnership that Arua will grow. Left to us alone, we shall not proceed. That is a bare fact. Timely utilization of the funds received. Once we receive them, we shall dispatch and ensure that they are consumed. We need accurate human resource demand and supply forecasting. That is from planning, acquisition, utilization, improvement, and retention to influence productivity through knowledge, skills, and attitude. It is said, knowledge makes people confident, skills make people competent, attitude makes people committed. These three will form the core when we are doing our human resource forecasting, demand and supply. The establishment of the City Integrity Committee, I've already mentioned it. I would like to proceed to development plan implementation. The goal is to assess, collect, and efficiently administer all revenues for predictable planning and autonomous implementation of council programs for service delivery. The program objectives are to administer all revenues to council. We have so many sources. This is done through assessment, collecting, and accounting for the resources. To advise the council on revenue implications, tax administration, and aspects of policy changes relating to all taxes. To increase resource mobilization for effective service delivery. To adopt best practices in revenue mobilization. To establish locally raised revenue database through different systems. To widen the tax base by identifying new emerging revenue sources. Much as COVID is trying to hit us hard, but we need to think outside the box instead of concentrating on the traditional sources. But also to promote transparency and accountability in revenue management. The key situation analysis. One, this is the current situation. There is low tax base, mostly characterized by informal nature of businesses. Rampant mobile hawking and street vending. His Worship the Mayor mentioned it. People are everywhere. The streets are all littered with vending. But part of the reason is you can appreciate that when our market was being constructed, it displaced quite a number of vendors. But it is not a reason enough to encourage street vending. Actually, we have noticed a new development that from Friday to Sunday, there are people who board buses and taxis from elsewhere and congregate in this city to come and vend on the streets. Sunday evening, they board and go back. That's why just take your time. Between Friday and Sunday, see the population on our streets. It is not only the locals here. People who don't belong here, but they're Ugandans and they're living elsewhere, have taken advantage because they see there's street vending here active. There's low attraction of manufacturing and other investment potentials. I am glad our senior citizen, Mr. Arua, you are dreaming of an industrial park, and I think that is the way to promote manufacturing. Mixed businesses and informal nature of businesses. Many people are undecided about what kind of specific business to do. You want to venture in honey business, you want to be there in produce business, you want to be there in hardware. I mean, it becomes very hard. This is coupled with the fact that we don't have business plans and sustainability plans. We just dream because our neighbor today hit a jackpot in business A, and you think that is the way to go. You also start business A. At the end of the day, the market is flooded. Irregular payments of taxes and other fees and charges, inadequate staffing and capacity problems, I already mentioned also under public service transformation. The e-tax system, this is a key challenge to most taxpayers, especially the SMEs. We actually encourage as much as possible e-tax administration, where you can pay from your mobile phone. Pay from the mobile phone, the system is linked to our systems. We know taxpayer here has already paid. But many people still opt to go and line in the bank. But they're lazy also to line up in the bank to pay. But slowly, because we're a city, we shall be forced kindly by change to adapt. Our planned strategic interventions in this development plan implementation include implementation of IRAS. IRAS is Integrated Revenue Administration System. Our staff have been trained. This is a system where we capture the details of taxpayers on our computers, but the town agents can be able to do this actually using their mobile phones. The software is installed on the mobile phones. You go to shop A, make an assessment, this person pays, it alerts the town agent, it alerts the head of finance, it alerts the treasury. We know in a day, today, town agent A has assessed this number of businesses worth this amount. There will be no pilferage. This business of Kiti Kudogo, you under-assess and then you put some in your pocket will not arise. We have already been trained on that system and we are going to roll it out. We are very happy that we have issued even computers to the divisions for the implementation of this. So divisions, please plan. Last week I told you, plan adequate office space. You are coming on the digital system. The IFMS is coming to you there. So begin planning now. But IRS, you don't need computers, you even need mobile phones for its administration. Utilization and the involvement of LC2s and LC1s and some elected leaders in revenue mobilization, we think it is very key because you are the people who interface with the taxpayers. You can guide us better when we are doing this mobilization. Weekly planned revenue mobilization programs per source will dedicate 1 week, for example, for trading license, another week for property tax, another week for another form of tax, so that we exhaust the mobilization thoroughly instead of carrying 3, 4, 5 sources at once and then you think you are mobilizing. No. I think in that way we are leaving out quite a lot. Concentrate on one, do it thoroughly, then go to the next. Monthly revenue enhancement committee meetings, including revenue managers. By the way, we have revenue managers appointed for the revenue sources. So these people will be meeting monthly with the head of finance and the revenue enhancement committee that has been put in place. We will strive to use bulk SMS alerts and radio talk shows and announcements to taxpayers. Our sensitization programs will continue through barazas. Tax clinics for different tax categories of taxpayers shall also be organized. We are proposing to expand our street park collection to vibrant trading centers like Awindiri, like Idufe Itia, like Odramachako and others, because we see a lot of activity in those centers. Under governance and security, I am glad I have the security people around. I will be more interested. You know, one time the late Professor Apollo Nsibambi was asked in the parliament when he was prime minister, what is security? He rose to the floor and said, security by definition is security. So you know it better. But what I've tried to do here, the little I will present to tickle you, you guide me to add more. Thank you for your presence. Under governance and security, our sub-program objectives are to strengthen the capacity of the security agencies to address emerging security threats. You may have noticed From last week up to this week, we're on bomb alerts. It is a real threat. While we think it is a Kampala issue, don't think it is a Kampala issue. It is next door to you. Second sub-program objective is to strengthen policy, legal, regulatory, and institutional framework for effective governance and security. The current situation in this city is an increase in urban crimes. That goes without saying. There are many factors propagating that. There are certain corners where people are competing with the goats in chewing that green thing. There are those ones who are smoking. A lot of crime is happening, even during broad day. We have had weak linkages with non-state actors. Sometimes some key information can be got from them. These are issues that we need to address. Our strategic interventions for governance and security are to increase participation of non-state actors in planning, budgeting, monitoring of programs and projects. This will help us a long way in sharing information so that timely response can be made to issues that transpire. We'd like to build strategic partnership with and support the security agencies. Now that we have our CISO, we have our own RCC, we need to work with them in partnership so that we improve on issues of security. We need to improve communication and transparency in service provision. Regular communication to our citizens so that we get feedback, because in that way we're engaging them in governance issues. I thank you for listening.
Thank you, the presenter, the Deputy City Clerk, for your precise and elaborate presentation. I want to believe everybody has been listening very carefully to pick the key issues which are involved in our public sector transformation. I want to highlight this. In his presentation, let us take note of the key issues which he presented. Improving service delivery. We all know service delivery is the key role for the council to play. And this is the time you are going to discuss how best you want these services to be delivered to our people. On the issue of information sharing, this is a very, very vital issue or key issue for us all. As participants here, without information, we cannot know what is happening in our city or how our city is being run and how the programs are affecting us and how we are supposed to benefit from them. So there is a need for information sharing. We need to take keen interest and then observation to raise issues concerning the information sharing, whether we have been satisfied with the information given from the city or not. Participants, we have heard of insufficient office space for the technocrats and the political leaders. This one needs to be taken note of because we need quality. We also need motivation of our workers and the technical team and the political wing. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to say we have in our current situation issues of staffing gaps. This is very, very important to note, because without proper staffing position, we cannot run the city. We cannot carry on the roles and the responsibilities which is enacted on the council. So there is a serious need to look at this. And the issue of budget cuts. We know this is a new city. Most of the biggest part is rural. So the issue of budget cuts affects the running of this city so much. So you need to contribute a lot so that we can see improvement in that area. Ladies and gentlemen, there are many issues which were raised here. They were all pertinent. I know you have picked the ones which touches on your heart. So the issue of security, I cannot leave it unmentioned. Without security, we cannot sit here. Without security, we cannot do anything. So we need to participate in the issue of security as much as we can, so that we have a city which everybody would like to live in. Thank you so much, Presenter, for what you have taken us through. I want to say with this, I will expect full participation of our participants here, and the ladies also. We have a good number of ladies here. I want to see all of you contributing to this.
Thank you, Session Chair. Our dear participants,
Okay.
it's time for health break. Let's step down, but kindly pick a coupon,
Okay, to check on this.
and we request if you can use
It is okay.
strictly 30 minutes.
Okay.
And we come back, start the next session with our discussions on the first presentations. You are all
Thank
welcome.
you. We want to adjourn for short break. I hope we shall keep time, because the issues we have come here are still a lot to discuss. Thank you.
We therefore request the Reverend Sister to lead us into a health break prayer.
God Almighty Father, we'd like to thank you for this moment. And now as we are going for health break, Lord, we ask you to bless what we are going to partake. May it be a source that will give us energy to come back here to discuss and see a way forward, to see the growth of our city. As we ask you to bless those who have prepared it, bless us all who are going to partake it. We ask all this through Christ our Lord.